Hey, welcome back to another episode. Episode or podcast is a year of magical learning where Chrissy goes through all his books and we talk about his reflection. So today is book 43. Well, Chris, what is book 43?
Book 43 is still pulling up on my screen because it's going really slow. But it is a book called I Contain Multitudes
Mhm.
by the author Ed Yong. The book is at a high level is about the 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 microbiome, I guess, if you will, and the microscopic organisms that kind of make up us, right? As if you think of human beings like as an island or something like that, all the little things that inhabit us and make up our ecosystem that live
Well,
inside of
we
us.
I
Yep.
think of us as a universe,
Right. Exactly.
and the microbiomes is if you want to think about it, hey, these are humans,
Yep.
and you can extrapolate up or down as you please.
Exactly. That's exactly what the book is about. It's about the microbes within us and the grander view of life. Just about how incredible. The more you go down, and like you said, everything kind of stacks on top of each other, and we'll get into that into the reflection here. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It was a pretty fascinating book. I take it you haven't read this one actually, right? Is that correct?
I have not, but you and I talked about it before.
Yeah, for me, just on a side note before I jump into this book, the microbiome has been a kind of a topic of fascination for me personally. Amelia passed away from NEC, which is necrotizing enterocolitis, which is
Mhm.
basically her intestines started to die and perforated and stuff was leaking into her abdomen. And obviously that when your stuff inside of your gut leaks out, like it can wreak all kinds of havoc. And
Mhm.
just the microbiome and your gut health is so important. And for me, I'm a celiac as well, so these are meaning I can't eat wheat, barley, and rye, and gluten-free kind of lifestyle and all that other stuff. um I know how important it is for me to put the right things into my body that my microbiome agrees with, and
Mhm.
and it matters. So for me, this has always been a topic of fascination, but it really kind of kicked into high gear when, through Amelia's struggles and trying to understand, her what she went through a little bit and understanding how that could have happened to her. So that was kind of what led me to this book in general, just as I wanted to dive in deeper to the micro organism universe within us. And it was a really, really good book. Honestly, I was kind of blown away by it. I remember having this one moment with this book in particular. Talk about like your memory palaces, where I was walking, like probably taking Luke out on a walk or something like that, and I was listening to it as an audiobook, and I had this moment of like, oh shit, like that's like, I don't know why, it's something like triggered me about like like nine different things that just compounded into each other, that I had this like incredible epiphany of a thought that popped out, where everything seemed like it made sense and the universe was in order. I'll have to go back and look at my notes because I'm glad I know I wrote it down, but I remember it was just one of those moments where you're like, oh, whoa, like and yeah, I don't know. This book was really good. So
Mhm.
but the reflection title in particular on this one is it's called Symbiosis. Is that a term you're familiar with?
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. So my in keeping with your thought about how everything kind of stacks on top of each other and layers on top of each other, this world in general, the more that I dive into it and the more that I understand, I guess how things work and kind of just universal principles of the universe as we know it. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, or whatever, but it seems to make sense, I guess,
Mhm.
at this stage. But at the end of the day, like it just is. We talked about this yesterday with the hidden life of trees. It's we don't do anything by ourselves. Like if you ever think that you're doing anything by yourself, you are just so wrong. I mean, it's not that you're so far off of the spectrum of understanding how this world works if you think that you can just go it alone and be a lone wolf and get anywhere in this world. I mean, you can't even get into the world alone. I mean, there's a million things that go, and I contain multitudes, right? There's a million things that go into
Right.
bringing you into this universe, let alone, like, like, I mean, hell, you think about our children. I mean, they're 100% dependent upon us, just as a tangible thing to even survive in this world, let alone all the microbiome and bacteria and fungi and plants and animals and atmosphere and the space and time and light and all the chemicals of this world. I mean, there's a million things, a trillion things. I don't even know how many things that go into your us being able to do what we do every single day. And I think taking that fundamental principle and applying that to how we relate to each other has been a really fundamental thing for myself, I guess, and leaped forward, if you will, in my own knowledge of how I want to live my life, and ultimately impacted, as we talked about yesterday, of my core values of don't do it alone. So
Mhm.
when you start to open your eyes and you start to see, all these other things that are going on in this world and how connected we are with everything, it really is kind of beautiful. And for me in particular with this book, I don't know what happened. I got on this like really big natural history kick for like a month straight. So I read, it's on here. You can see it. It says, I went through this book called Rain, which is about like the natural and cultural history of rain, the hidden life of trees we talked about yesterday, the
Mhm.
botany of desire, which is all about plants and how they connect to our emotions and how they bring certain things out of us and how certain things come out of them. The entangled life, which is all about fungi and how they impact the world. The selfish gene, which is all about evolution and understanding why how genetic I guess evolution. And then finally, this I Contain Multitudes book. It was just like this one straight month of just like natural, like history and these kind of books. And my brain was in another dimension. But everything that I kept hearing over and over again was this word symbiosis. I heard it a lot in like the Entangled Life book about fungi. I heard a lot about it in the Hidden Life of Trees. Definitely in the I Contain Multitudes book, but it's that interconnectedness, right, of the interaction between two completely different unique organisms and their close physical association that they typically lead to the advantage of both. So thinking
Mhm.
of like our own microbiome, right, our bacteria and our fungi that inhabit us, like we all help each other. Like they help us to process food, to turn it into energy, and then we can go get them more food so they can grow and thrive. And we all thrive together. They're completely unique, different organisms than we are, but together we can create the tip of the iceberg, I guess, if you will, is what I wrote in here. Of you think of like those visuals you always see in like classroom boards of like the iceberg, and then you have all the other stuff underneath it. Like humans are like just like the tip of the iceberg kind of thing that you can visibly see, but underneath all of us there's a whole lot of other things that are going on to be able to get us to stand tall and show what we are. And same thing goes for everything in this world. So I guess at a high level, the symbiosis, recognizing that, feeling that, remembering that, and understanding that it's on us to understand, these universal principles just operate in the background. But if we want to actually make something great with our lives and meaningful work and meaningful relationships, if you focus on symbiosis, where we can overlap with other people and do better things together, you can really create some magical things in this world. So that's that was my high level reflection, I guess, from this one. What's your take?
I mean, and I mean, like you say, it's a fundamental, it's a universal truth because that's how our environment, our world is created. We are created to be in a system, in an ecosystem of some sort. So we can't do it alone because we cannot self be self-sustaining because we can only be a part of a big thing, whether or not we are a composer, right? A composer need a decomposer. If we breathe in oxygen, so somebody has to consume the oxygen. Otherwise, right? So we have the trees that give us the oxygen, which they take in the carbon dioxide, and so that's to me, it's like a high level of a symbiosis, but symbiosis is everywhere.
Right.
It's it's in your system, your body has bacteria inside of your body that actually breaks down stuff that you could. But I also refer to the symbiosis of human beings of other human beings, because I can't do everything by myself. So I would need to have you and other people in my life to be to kind of fulfill the missing spots. And
Yeah.
so, you know, the universal truth is like we cannot do everything by ourselves. That's, to me, you can look at anything, whether that's the how you build something or how you able to survive something. If you are able to genetically create a human being without the mother, that baby won't survive, because they
Right.
don't have the biodome that is being passed down.
Yep.
Or because the thing is, you rely on those for some of the missing segments of what makes something run, makes something works, whether that you digestive system or how your brain works. And so to me, symbiosis is the universal things that this world is made up of. um to me, when I see the world, I see in it's what I call what people call fractal. You know what fractal is?
I've heard the term. Math terms are not my best.
Right.
So no,
So
yeah.
fractal is like for example, you want to see when you look at a tree branch, right? A branch of a tree, it looks like a tree.
Right.
You see? So that's fractal. So that means that, for example, for us, we are the universe. Then the bacteria are basically your humans or whatever. And then we are the micro the bacteria in the earth universe. And the
Yep.
earth universe is in a solar system universe, because without the earth and all these things, the universe won't exist.
Yep.
Without, for example, if you say, well, let's go and take the earth universe, the earth biodome, and say, let's take out all the trees, do you think the earth can survive?
No, well, maybe, but no.
No,
I
you
don't know
can't.
the
You
yeah.
can't, because that's part of the ecosystem. So
It is, yeah.
similarly, if you take out a decomposer like the bacteria, the fungi, right? The fungi. Let's say the fungi. You take out the fungi. Do you think the earth can survive?
I don't know
It's,
that I don't know the answer to that. I know it won't operate as is today, where it seemingly is in harmony.
well, you're going to be drowned in your own shit. That's what I'm
Right,
saying. I
right, yeah,
mean,
no,
if
you're right.
you think you can live, you can survive that, then okay, fine,
Yeah.
you can survive that. But without the decomposer, that's what you have. Then
Yeah.
nothing is decomposed.
Right.
And with all the junk and shit we put out onto the earth, you think, where do they go? So that's the
Yeah.
thing is, you can't take away some element and expect it to work. You can kill the earth by taking that single piece of that the entity that makes up that part of the universe, the universe of whatever you call earth. Similarly, you go down to your stomach and say, well, what happened when you take the biodome out? Well, you're gonna become sick,
Yeah.
because or you can't digest certain things or whatever, and your body's not gonna function. That body dies.
Right.
So let's
Yep.
say you take out the biodome inside of your gut, you're gonna have a very hard time surviving.
Oh yeah.
You as the container of the biodome will die. So similarly, you extrapolate it to earth. If you take out a certain critical elements in the ecosystem of what earth biodome is, it's gonna die. So you take
Yeah.
out the trees, all the plant manufacturing oxygen for animals to live, they'll die. And if you take out all the fungi and all the decomposer, then you're gonna die. You're gonna feel it with you. Like I say, you're gonna be drowning your own shit. And something, if
Right.
you take out all the animals and all the humans, right? Trees can't survive either. Where do you get
Right.
the CO2 from? So to
Right.
me, this is something like a fractal. Like you have it's like one of those um like a layer of the onion. You open you peel off one, it looks exactly like the one outside of it. The,
Yep.
the children looks like the parent, the parents look like the grandparent. So in a way, what fractal describes is that whatever you see, right, a branch is essentially a tree. right? And a branch of a branch, it still looks like a tree.
Right.
And so when you look at it from the symbiosis perspective, it's like you have the biodome that human as a container contains, and then you have humans that are inside of a bigger biodome, and then the Earth is basically part of a bigger universe.
Yeah, I'm actually the book I'm reading right now is Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, by Tyson or whatever is the guy that did it.
Right.
So I mean, I was just listening about this stuff today about like the whole universe as well, and you're right, like it reminds me, do you remember the movie Men in Black? When he goes at the end of the last scene of the first one, where they like put these little aliens in a locker, and then that locker closes, and then it's a locker inside of a bigger train station.
Yes.
It's closes. It's
Yes,
a locker
yes,
inside
yes,
of a
yes.
big. Yeah, I mean, you're so right. Like, I mean, it's we have a little universe in us, and there's a huge universe out there. It's what we're a little piece of the, we're a little bacteria piece in the bigger piece of the universe as
Right.
well. And everything. I'm like, it's funny we're talking about this now, because I've been wondering what I wanted to write my reflection about with this astrophysics physics for People in a Hurry book. And personally, I've been a little hesitant with the whole, like, how humans are so quick to want to put order and hierarchy to things, and like, I feel like that's a flaw of ours, of always trying to try to put things in order,
Because we are composers. That's what we are. That's what our roles are.
Yeah, no, I agree, but
So the tendency could have a disadvantage. Yes.
Yeah, but the more that I think of it's I think we're like to the extreme of wanting to put things in order, and but at the end of the day, the more that I think about, I guess I'm just kind of talking out loud at this point in time. I'll formulate my thoughts more when I write my reflection on that book, because I'm almost done with it. But it was I mean, it's more, there is universal laws and principles that do fund run this universe, whatever the universe you want to call it, whatever term you want to put to it. There there is some universal laws and hierarchy and order and fundamentals, to this world that are fundamental building blocks as to how we all have to work symbiotically together to be able to coexist and
Right.
or thrive or not thrive.
Right.
I mean, like, it doesn't happen overnight. The Big Bang happened, I don't know what, billions and billions and trillion, I don't even know, trillions of years ago. I have no idea. But
It's all speculations from this point.
right, exactly. That's the other that's my other thought with that whole book, is it's like, a part of me just sounds like just a fun story, like I'm listening to, like, yeah, these dudes are sitting around going, oh, well, what about like light, like, what if there's like different spectrums of light, like, and they just start making up shit, and they're like going to study it, and then they put a great story around it. We just keep telling ourselves a better story, more and more better story about everything. So
Yes.
totally, this is me without a formulated this is why I write in the morning, to get my thoughts, into more of a concentrated area.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think it does align though into this whole I contain multitudes. It's everything has its place, everything has its role, everything has a job to do, and everything has to work together in order for us to be all collectively better together. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, that's what these are some observation that we have, because when you know that certain things are have a tendency, because we are programmed to do certain things. For example, we are composers, so we like to make things neat, create things, right?
Yeah.
That's our tendency. And so when we have that tendency, we pass down the same genes to our kids, and something with the fungi and other bacteria that breaks down the stuff, that decomposes, and so they work in unison. So whenever you have a tendency and it works in an ecosystem that of symbiosis, if you align yourself with that, then things become easier. If you don't, it becomes harder. It's just like,
exactly.
There is gravity because of this particular law of the gravity that you have, you see, well, things gonna fall down. Things gonna attract to that big core of whatever you call the earth, right? And so if you go up against the river, it's gonna be harder. And
Right.
so knowing that there is symbiosis among the universe and the entity between that, so it behooves us to find a win-win when we get together and build things together. And so that is, so we just basically using the leverage of the observations that we know exist in the universe to
Go
make our life a little
downhill.
bit better.
Right. Yeah. I think your river analogy is spot on. It's like, go downhill, you know what I mean? Don't fight it. Like, figure out what it is. And then I remember how when we talked about Clubany, with a bunch of streams coming down from a mountaintop into a river, like take your core values and your streams and all and put them all together as they all,
Yes, you align them with the
right.
universal law that of gravity, or that whatever you call it, the river, right?
Right.
You make it easier. Don't go against it.
Right, exactly. So it's work with the principles and fundamentals of this world and work together, and you can accomplish some really great things.
So for us, like, because we have these adaptability, and we have the ability to think and simulate some stuff. It bound to give a scenario where it's not benefit to us, because there's going to be randomness of, okay, if I do random things, then things sometimes going to be to my favor and sometimes it isn't. But if you take that and you align it with the universal law and your core values, things going to be much better for you. It's just because you realize and observe your environment, your surrounding, because it's better for us to work together. And because then what I do, it's going to be something that is going to be a comparative advantage, meaning like I'm specialized in one thing, right? Whether that's coding or programming, and you're going to be specialized in sales and communications and whatnot. For me to do what you do, it's going to take me 10 times, just because I just don't know enough.
Right.
But for you and me to do it,
even,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So if I were to say, well, I can do the program in 1 hour, and I'm going to take me 10 hours to communicate and sell to somebody, that's going to take me an average of what? 5.5 hours, right? And for so then same thing for you. So you can convince somebody in 1 hour, but it takes you 10 hours to make something, right? That's still an average.
Something that's garbage too.
Right. So basically for each one of us, it's 11 hours each, right? So when you and I combine together, right? Is it 5.5 hours, or is it 2 hours, or is it 1 hour?
It's 2 hours if we know
exactly. It's 2 hours, not five. Right. Not, I mean, so you go from 11 hours to 2 hours when you combine the two together. So it's a win-win situation. So if you recognize and observe the surrounding and see, what laws is going to give you some leverage,
or extrapolating out to what you're saying, recognize the people around you and what they care about and what they value and what they're good at and what they want to do, and use that, like let yourself don't embrace that, like, and let them do what's meaningful to them and let you do what's meaningful to yourself. I know we're probably about up at time just because we've been going on for today, but this reminds me of a conversation I was having with my sister this weekend. She owns a small business with my brother-in-law, where they run they own a bunch of large buildings that are like open infrastructure, and one of the people that rent their facilities, they're these converted Ford factories in Michigan. Basically they converted them into like kind of multi-use facilities, right? They own, in their own building, they have like a little catering, like banquet hall space, where people can rent it out for like, whatever. So they my sister kind of runs that, I guess, for the family, and they work with this other person. And she was complaining about this other person that was friends with her brother-in-law, and they don't really get along, and she doesn't really do very good, and yada 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 about a lot of things, and she's more of a headache. And I was like, my advice to her was kind of similar to what we're talking about. We talked about this for like 2 hours, and I was like, well, what do you like to do? And she was like, well, I like to do this, this, and this. And I was like, well, what does she like to do? And she was like, well, I think she's really good at like this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, well then let her do that. And then, if there's any overlap where you two work together, then just communicate on that, where you both like to do something, and then you do whatever else it is, and then what's the problem? Like, I mean, I don't care, you know. I mean, like, why there shouldn't be any conflict here. If she has skills and she likes to do something, let her do that. Like, you know,
Right.
she's not going to do the other stuff that you want her to do, or not doing, you know, because she doesn't like to do it. So anyway, I think we beat a dead horse on this one, but you know, good conversation for sure. So the question we can leave with everybody is, you know, who or what else has helped you to accomplish great things in your life? You know, and leveraging that symbiosis together of working together in harmony to accomplish something great. So something to think about. And thanks for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good.